It's Ivy Slater, and you're listening to Her Success Story podcast, a show where gutsy businesswomen share their success journey. Hi, this is Ivy Slater. Welcome to today's episode of Her Success Story. So I have a real treat for you today. I'm bringing to you a friend, a business colleague, somebody I've known for a long time, and you actually heard a podcast recently from her co-founder partner. Courtney Spritzer is the co-founder and CEO of Socialfly, a leading social-first digital and influencer marketing agency. Socialfly helps brands communicate and resonate with target audiences through digital marketing strategy, organic, social, paid media, influencer marketing, SEO, creative production. I can go on and on. Courtney's background is vast in this area, and she was young when she took the bold move of going out on her own with her partner Stephanie and starting Socialfly. I was fortunate to meet both of them in their early days. Since then, she has some interesting journeys about Socialfly, as well as a small touch on their new co-founded business that's now several years old, Courtney, Entreprenista. So thanks for joining me here today.
Thanks for having me. I'm so glad to do this with you today.
So we met in the early days of Socialfly. Let's go back to the early time that you had a job, you were young, and you took that big, giant step and a huge leap into starting your own business at an early stage.
Yes, it seems like just yesterday, but it was actually over 12 years ago. And I can't remember how you and I and Stephanie, we all got connected, but I remember we did one of your workshops, and it was really, really great. Stephanie and I always invested in ourselves and our growth in the early days. When Stephanie and I decided to take that leap of faith and quit our jobs, I think I was 23 when we started working on the side of our jobs, and I was 24 when we officially quit. Wow. And I remember I was terrified. Stephanie is not she worries, but I think I'm more of the worrier in business. And we planned for our exit. So we had some money saved personally to kind of float ourselves in the early days and try to make it as less stress, at least the amount of stress as possible, because running a business, has a lot of uncertainty. But before we quit our jobs, we had a few small clients lined up. And we decided to quit after 10 months of it being a side hustle, because we said to each other, if this is ever going to be a real business, we just have to really focus on it and go all in and do it. So we quit our jobs on the same day, May 4th of 2012. And really
that's a monumental day.
It is May 4th. And we always celebrate that day. Whenever we do big things, we try to do it on that day because it's so symbolic to us. So that first week in business, though, one thing really led to another. We quit our jobs on a Friday. We celebrated on Saturday. We went to work at Stephanie's apartment on Monday, and we looked at each other like, oh, what do we do first? And we decided to put an ad on Craigslist to get some interns to help us for the summer. And then by Wednesday, we had 6 incredible interns lined up to work for us part-time in the summer of 2012. And we were like, oh my gosh, where are we all going to go and work? So I remembered I have one of my family friends, my mom took me to one of her meetings, when I was 16. And I remember there was an office, it's called Printech, it was a printing company. And I remember that he had the whole floor. And I asked my mom if she was still connected to Frank and maybe he could rent us some office space. And she called him. He said to come by to see if we even wanted to be there, because he did have space. And we decided, he said, we could barter for space, help him with his social media. And then he asked us how we're going to get our first clients. And that's when he introduced us to this networking group called B&I. And that's where we got all of our first clients. So really that all happened in the first week. So just one decision led to another. And then a lot has happened since, but that was a really pivotal first week.
I want to jump in for a second because I know you get it, but I want to make sure our listeners are really getting it. Um, when you both started, without your first client, you started building a team. It might have been interns, but your first inkling was it's a given, we're going to have all these clients. How are we going to do all this work? Hire, immediately hire. And so many early stage startups, want to struggle. I'm really being careful. Struggle with letting go of the responsibility, trusting and hiring sooner. And I will always say, hire as you scale. Don't wait to scale and then hire. And I love that you did that early on.
That was the first thing that we did.
You did it before you had a client, a place, your day one.
We had a few clients, but yeah, we didn't have enough clients to afford, any full-time roles, but we knew, we both had a lot of internships when we were in college. So we knew that we could probably find some interns to help get us started.
Absolutely. So you joined BNI. How did you know, like, where did the knowledge come from for pricing and starting to build the industry? So I love the infrastructure of hiring, but where did the other knowledge and infrastructure come from? Share a little bit about your and Stephanie's background that you were able to jump in and just start going.
Yeah, when it came to pricing in the early days, it was really, what can the clients that were coming to us or the people that we were talking to, what can they afford? And then based on their budget, what can we do for that amount? And then we would also do some competitive research. We would look at, who else is offering the similar services, go on Google, see what the competition is doing, and then try to figure out how they were pricing their services. And then it wasn't until maybe 3 or 4 years into running the business where we took a more, traditional approach to pricing. And by that, I mean figuring out how many hours it takes to service certain types of scopes and different types of businesses. And in the early days, we did track everyone's time. So then after a few
And
years, we had enough
that's
data.
really, really important. People don't realize sometimes they expect certain professions to track time. Like we expect our attorneys to track our time, right? Possibly our accountants, CPAs, et cetera, et cetera. But we, as business owners, we have to understand how much time things take to understand that correlation.
Exactly. Especially in a service-based business. That is essentially what we're selling. We're selling time, we're selling services. So we did get advice to track time in the early days. And then after a few years of having a ton of information on how long things take, that's when we started to price based on estimated amount of time and our billable rates. And then we developed billable rates based on what our costs of people were and how that's calculated in the agency space. But yeah, that's our pricing model now. It's based on how much time things will take.
Let me ask you, as you were scaling, what were some of those lessons learned that you could pass on to our listeners who are also scaling and leaders, and because you've really had an amazing journey in the building of Socialfly?
Oh, I have tons and tons of advice. I would say something that has been kind of the thread that has been consistent throughout the entrepreneur journey that I've had is going to our network for support. So when, we didn't know everything and the secret is no one knows everything, but we knew people we could go to for advice. And even 12 years later, we have an amazing network, but we're constantly building our network. And that is kind of the premise of Entreprenista. So my advice to any founder at any stage would be to continue to invest in yourselves. I think I remember, me being the finance person between me and Stephanie, we had to make a decision to invest in this networking group. And And for a lot of entrepreneurs, because we meet a lot of them, they'll not make these investments. And they're so important for your own personal growth and your business growth, and also to expand your network and have people to go to for advice.
You know, the expression that says your network is your net worth is
Very
an
true.
expression that is so true, so true, and so valuable and so important to have the resources at your fingertips.
Exactly. Exactly. We even that first example that I shared with you, I met someone when I was 16, and that experience really, was memorable for me. My mom took me to a business meeting, and then many years later, when we needed office space, that office came to mind, and we reached out to that person, and then that person led us to the next group of people, and really some really great advice.
I love that. I have to ask you, you know, in taking Socialfly, you have now really crossed the finish line, so to speak, although you're never really done.
Right, exactly.
A huge celebration and a huge congratulations to both you, Courtney and Stephanie, on the sale of Socialfly being acquired. That's a big step in the journey of scaling.
Yes. So we decided to sell the company in at the beginning of 2023, and we went out to find the right home and buyer. At that point, we realized that we really wanted Socialfly to find its next chapter and find a owner or new company that was very complementary to help propel Socialfly forward. And through running kind of a sales process, we found the perfect partner in Trueform Media Group, and I'm really excited for the future of Socialfly. Now we have even more services to offer our clients, and some really great new team members to collaborate with. So really excited for the future.
And if in the journey of what you expect and what you don't expect, you know, I have uh, been part of mergers and acquisitions in my early days of my former company. It's an interesting journey, and I'll always say we learned so much. We learned so much. What has been interesting in your learning experience from this?
Definitely lots of learnings. I think when it comes to the actual process of selling your company, we did hire someone to help us run that process. And what I
Very
learned in that
smart, by the way.
what I learned in that process is that your company, even if your numbers are incredible, isn't going to sell itself. You still have to be the champion and the salesperson, and it's not, the people that you hired that are going to do it for you. It's you as the owner that really has to get the company sold, and obviously be a part of a lot of conversations. And it's definitely for at least for me, was a stressful process, because you have to run the business while also have conversations about selling the business. So it is a lot to juggle. And then there's the emotional part of it too. Once you do get to the end result that you want, which is you get your company sold and it's exciting. But at the same time, I had been running this company since I was in my early 20s. I grew up in this company.
Yeah.
It's, a lot of it is very much part of my identity. So it has been a very emotional process for me. But on the other, now that I'm on the other side of it, I'm seeing what an impact being part of a larger organization can have for your business. And there's so many great things happening for our employees, for our clients. So it's really exciting to be a part of. But at the same time, it's very emotional for me, because I am doing things in different ways. But it's also very exciting because I'm getting to learn how to do things a little bit differently than what we were used to. And there's a common saying in running a business, which is what will get you the skill sets to get you from here to there aren't always the ones that are going to get you to that next level. And
Right. And
I
there's
think
a great
that's,
book, What Got You Here Won't Get You There.
yes, that's it.
And it's very true because Courtney, I have to say, I really appreciate you touching on the emotional side because, you know, one thing is when you've run something and you, an enormous amount of our listeners are female leaders in a variety of spaces. And so I'm going to touch on the parental moment here. You birth a business. And then when you sell that business, it's going out in the world all, you know, all on its own with still your love and everything you put into it, you know, and your fingers are like, yes, yes, yes. When there's that moment in the pit of your stomach that says, oh my goodness, I'm terrified in that emotional way, like I did everything right. It's going to be okay. I know in my heart of hearts it's going to be okay, but my baby.
Exactly. And I don't have any children, but I could imagine, how
Oh, you have
this,
Socialfly as your baby.
social
It's
life,
a
social
truly,
play is my baby. That's true. That's true. So yeah, it's exciting. It's exciting. And I'm very excited for the future of Socialfly and also for me personally to kind of learn new things and take the next steps in order to get the company to the next level. But yeah, it's definitely been an emotional process for me.
I have to ask, has anything surprised you in this journey?
Has anything surprised me in the journey? I think it's, you know, there's that other cliche, like, life begins outside, live outside your comfort zone for a lot of growth. I think that there's just been so growth for me personally in the past year going through this process, getting the company sold. And I am being exposed to right now a lot of change. So I would say that has been the most surprising thing is I didn't realize how much change I would be experiencing through this process, if that makes sense.
It does make sense. And speaking of book titles, there's another great book title that goes, Change is good, comma, you go first. And it always
All
gives
great
me that little
titles.
bit of a giggle because it's like we all know we need change and evolution, and it's all part of growth in our companies and for ourselves. Yet, when we know that that's on conceptual level, and then when we go through that emotionally, it's like, okay, somebody else can go first. Somebody else can be first in line. What do you see? I mean, I know Entreprenista is off and running, and you and Stephanie have been growing that consistently for several years now. What are you excited about for what's next for you?
There's so many things that I'm excited about. Well, first, I'm really excited for the future of Socialfly and the partnership between Socialfly and Trueform. I'm just seeing such incredible things for everything at Socialfly and our employees and our clients. So very excited for the future there. And then for Entreprenista, something that Stephanie and I have done since we launched it formally as a company and membership community in 2021 is really share everything that we've learned to our community. So always looking forward to sharing what I've learned so that everyone kind of grow faster. And then also we've opened up our network to our community. So it's exciting to see the community grow. We've been doing some really great events. We did a really, really big event this past year in when was this? I think it was in May 4th, of course, of all days. And it was just so incredible to see over 200 women gather and our community come together to support each other and share and network. It was just so great to see. So I'm excited for more events like that to bring the community together.
And going back to Socialfly for just another minute or two, what do you see as far as the evolution of the digital marketing space? What is changing and evolving, and what is exciting to you in what's happening there and what's next?
Yeah, so many things are evolving. And I think that's been the most exciting part about working in digital is that what made sense today may not make sense tomorrow. And it's moving at such a rapid pace. The trends that we're seeing right now are that content, I mean, this has always been a thing, but content is so, so important. Um, typically in digital, you have a certain amount that you're investing in paid and to acquire customers, drive traffic to specific landing pages, et cetera. But then there's also the organic piece. And what we're seeing now is that really good content can perform and get you a lot of traction and eyeballs. And that's what clients are hiring us to do is create really, really engaging content for the organic channels. And we're doing that through the use of content creators or in our studio. And we have a team of people that are on the pulse of what all the trends are. And it's always really exciting to see a piece of content do really well. And then we're also, seeing a lot of things happening on the AI front. We're still wrapping our heads around how to best leverage it for the company and our clients, but it's definitely something that we're paying attention to, and I'm excited to see how it's going to evolve.
Yeah, AI is going to be fascinating in seeing how it evolves, and it's so interesting to me to hear what you're saying about content, and its content has been the topic of conversation for years, and it's not going away. And how the content and AI come together to support growth is going to be fascinating to watch.
Exactly, exactly. And then also with the acquisition, we are now full service. So we can help our clients with both traditional and digital marketing. So I'm really, really excited about that.
That's fabulous. So for our listeners today, one last tip or piece of advice you'd have for other women leaders out there.
It's all about your mindset. So I think that has been something that right now I'm really focused on is protecting my mindset and trying to remain, positive and optimistic as much as possible because entrepreneurship is really hard. These days there are certain days that could really test your commitment to running your company. And the best entrepreneurs that I know have a very positive, optimistic mindset. So for me, I'm all about, protecting my energy, my headspace. I meditate every day, and I really am trying to surround myself with great people.
I 100% agree and with you. I meditate. I try to move my body. I try to stay grounded. Um, you know, life is business. Life is busy. Business is busy. The world is a busy place right now. And I find the more I make sure that I ground myself and stay centered within myself, the better I can be for everybody else around me. So I love that. Thank you, Courtney.
Yes, yes, happy to share that. It's really important to kind of protect your energy and protect your peace.
100%, 100%. We could do a whole episode just on that.
For sure.
Well, listeners, thank you for joining Courtney and I today on her success story. You can find all of Courtney's contact information in the show notes below, more about Socialfly as well as Entreprenista. Most importantly, I'll say right now, take a breath and think about what the conversation was in this episode and what your number one takeaway is. Then make a decision. What are you going to do with it? It's always about that action and the baby steps. So find one thing every day and take that action. Courtney, thank you again for joining me here today on Her Success Story.
Thank you for having me.
And listeners, see you next week with more wonderful guests and some great content episodes. See you next time.